Making wire-wrapped jewelry doesn't require an extensive or expensive number of tools, but it can be a little daunting to know where to start. In this video, I'll list my top 10 must-have tools for any wire-wrapped jewelry artist, along with a couple extra bonus tools at the end. If there's a tool that you love that isn't featured in this video, drop it in the comments below. Most of the tools that I use, I purchase through Rio Grande. I will go ahead and put the links for the tools that I use below, but know that there are also slightly less expensive options available as well that you may be able to find at your local craft store or on Amazon. I'll place some links to some alternative tools in the description of the video below. Before we dive in, just a quick disclaimer, everything on this list is a manual hand tool only. Tools like a flex shaft or another rotary handpiece are fantastic and definitely worth adding to your tool belt. But in the case of this video, I wanted to keep it simple to the hand tools that I use every day. Kicking things off with number 10, we have the Sunshine Polishing Cloth. I love this brand of polishing cloth. And these are the ideal tool for adding a little bit of extra shine to your pieces. These cloths are embedded with a micro abrasive that adds a nice polish to your finished pieces. So whether it's something that you're keeping bright and silver, or you're going back to add highlighted sections to an oxidized piece, these polishing cloths are a great, inexpensive addition to your toolbox. For number 9, we have the micro screwdriver. I picked up this set of small, flathead screwdrivers at my local dollar store. These are technically part of a glasses repair case, but they're perfect for creating space in my settings while creating jewelry. This double-sided piece that I'm working on features 24 different garnets set into weave settings. And using my flat screwdriver, I'm able to create the space to insert each stone into place. Additionally, in the case of a stone that's slightly too covered by my wire, I can place it and twist it so that the screwdriver's flat head opens up the setting slightly more. For $1 for a whole set, these are an ideal addition to your toolbox. Number 8, a ruler. Over the years that I've been creating wire-wrapped jewelry, I've become pretty obsessed with measuring everything. Most of my pieces either work with 6-inch or 12-inch segments. Knowing exactly how much wire is going into each piece helps me keep track of my costs. It also gives me some insight into how much wire I need if I want to use a more expensive material. For example, if I know exactly how to build a piece using sterling silver, I can go ahead and plug those same numbers in for gold to see how much it would cost me before buying and experimenting. Number 7, spring-loaded clamps. There's a lot of different ways that you can clamp the wire while you're working, but I've found that these cheap spring-loaded clamps are fantastic. I bought these at my local hardware store, and I got a whole bag of them for probably around $1.50 a piece. In the case of something like this square channel setting, it would also be helpful for me to be able to clamp all 4 wires together, to coil them together in place, using that leftover 28 gauge round that we had here. For number 6, we have our first pair of pliers, the parallel action pliers. The real selling point for a tool like this is that it will apply equal pressure from all ends of our piece instead of a scissoring pressure like a regular plier would. For something like that coiled section on this setting here, being able to apply an even pressure with our parallel action pliers will ensure that our 28 gauge here is flattened entirely evenly to our square wires. One of my favorite wire textures to use in my piece is half-round wire. It gives me that nice rounded, thick-looking element from one side, or flipped on its other side, I can use it as a rectangle-looking wire. My parallel action pliers are a great way to form this wire while keeping it flat, so that only the side of the wire that I'm working with is showing, instead of its natural desire to want to bend and twist. For number 5, we have the derlin or nylon tipped pliers. I've got several sets of these. My derlin tips generally get the most work, but you can see just how much work my regular nylon tips have gone through as well. I also have a parallel action set, but really only one set is all you need. One of the major bonuses for having a set of pliers like this is that you can work with those nice thick textures without scratching the surface of your metal. They offer a nice firm grip that doesn't leave any marring or scarring on the surface of your wire. Nylon tip pliers are perfect for working on pieces like this, where we don't have any woven textures to hide any scarring on our metal. This piece was mostly put together using just half-round and round wires. For number 4, we have the round nose pliers. I don't use these extensively in my work, but they are an incredible and important addition to any toolbox. Mostly I use my Swanstrom brand tools, but I do have several other small round nose pliers from other brands as well. An important thing to look for while purchasing a set of your own is that the tips come to a nice even closure and are balanced at the front. A lot of the less expensive ones don't close very carefully, where there's a lot of gaps in the space that can cause a slip while you're holding your wire, or the tips don't come quite together, making it difficult to hold wires as you work. Creating settings like this eyelight or this garnet, or even this small garnet crystal here in this piece, would be incredibly difficult to make evenly without my round nose pliers. I do have videos detailing how to make these settings on my page that I'll post the link for in the description as well. For number 3, I have my flush cutters. These ultra flush cutters are designed to create as minimal amount of tapering on the cut wire as possible, and to give one side a completely flat edge. That flat edge is ideal for any wire ending that's going to be close to someone, so it doesn't create a sharp edge. It is important to take note of the maximum size your cutters are able to handle when you're purchasing. Here's an example of a pair I didn't take great care of, and you can see right there where I damaged the pliers by trying to cut a wire that was too hard for what they were set for. These cutters are not designed for stainless steel, and I made a mistake, and I damaged a pretty expensive pair of cutters. A cheaper pair of cutters will often cut your wire endings like this. So you have two sharp edges facing each other. Ideally, what I'm looking for when I'm buying a new pair of cutters is something that will cut one edge tapered and one as flat and flush as possible. For number 2, I have my needle nose pliers. These pliers are designed to be able to slide into really small spaces to capture the wire that you're working with. My most heavily used are these Swanstrom, but I do have other sizes from cheaper brands as well. When I'm looking for a new pair of pliers, one of the first things that I look at is the way that the edge is treated. On our screen here, you can see there's a white line right on the edge. That's the rounded off edge of our plier. Instead of being a perfectly flat, sharp edge, it's rounded slightly to prevent scratching on your wire as much as possible. The jaws on these pliers are completely smooth, and when closed, there's full contact all the way down the plier. This cheaper pair that I picked up from my local craft store does have the nice smooth jaws, and it does come together at a nice closure, but my edge is incredibly sharp, and if I'm not careful while working with these pliers, I can easily scar or damage my wire. This pair has an incredibly narrow tip, but one of the issues that I run into with it constantly is that the steel isn't very good quality, and they tend to want to bend apart. If your pliers are doing this, taking another pair, you can often bend the tips back to flush so that we have that nice even contact. And for the number one tool that every wire wrapper needs, the flat nose pliers. This is my most used pair of pliers. I use these for everything. The tips on these have a nice taper to about 3 millimeters at the end, which provides a ton of control while I'm gripping my wire. The edges are stoned off so that it's nice and rounded, but I can still have tons of grip on the wire as we're working without risking damaging my wire on those sharp edges. This is my number one recommendation for tools for anyone starting out, a great pair of flat nose pliers. I had a ton of fun going through my tools and trying to decide in what order I would say things are prioritized with, and I'm pretty happy with my top 10. If there's a tool that you use that you don't see featured, like I said at the beginning, I'd love to hear about it. Drop a comment below and let us all know, what is your number one most used tool? What is one tool no wire wrapper should be without? Before calling it, I do have a few additional bonus tools that I think are really important, but not quite top 10 worthy for me. Our first bonus tool are these half-round pliers, one side being rounded and the other perfectly flat, that definitely help create some nice curves or inside of rings. This is sort of an oddly specific tool that I don't use incredibly frequently, but when the moment comes for it, it is a fantastic thing to have sitting on my plier rack. For our next bonus tool, I have one of these ring mandrels. It's a graduating in size, gives you the exact measurements for how large or small to make a ring, and it's incredibly important if you plan on making any wire wrapped rings for having one of these sitting at your tool bench. For our third bonus, a set of digital calipers is pretty helpful, especially for when trying to identify the size of a gauge of wire that maybe has been sitting on your desk for a few days and you can't quite remember how big it is. Being able to measure it accurately is definitely going to make your life a lot easier. Being able to get an accurate reading for the size of something can be pretty helpful while you're working on your bench, whether it's creating the setting for a stone and you need to measure just how far apart to keep your prongs, or maybe it's just how long to make the prongs. Having a set of digital calipers is really helpful in making sure that something is evenly and accurately measured. So there we have it, my top 10 tools that every wire wrapper must have. If you found this video fun or helpful, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe for more videos similar here in the future. A special thank you goes out to all the names on your screen for supporting this channel through Patreon. What I'm doing would not be possible without your support. If you're interested in helping support the channel, follow the link in the description below this video. If you found this video helpful, leave me a like on the video. It helps me a lot with the visibility of my videos in YouTube's algorithms. To be the first to know when I upload new content, go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit the bell to be notified when new videos are available. Thank you for watching, and happy wrapping.